Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host Swamp Swimmer, and with me, as always, is the Mario to my Luigi, Vespacian.
And you're doing a great job with these. Hi, everybody.
I found a treasure trove of them online, and I'm slowly working through them.
Although, wouldn't I be the Luigi to your Mario? I'm surprised by that.
I think you're the more sensible, level-headed one. So you're the Mario, and I'm the Luigi, kind of crazy. But I could very well be wrong. So after doing the weekend, the Wicked GT, it felt amazing to play real life games, and I came back and I played my first game online in the league, which actually is the game, a couple games after this. But man, no, it wasn't the opponent, it wasn't the game. I didn't get unlucky, but man, it was just soul crushing to go from real life games back to online games, and I don't know, I just wanted to point that out. It was pretty rough.
Was it on Warhol or UB?
It was on Warhol, but also we were playing text chat. We weren't voice chatting.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
So I'm hoping...
I think that the Warhol helps a lot because, I don't know, like when your opponent's like futzing around with the little millimeters of their movement, you can like zoom in, especially the armies that are like fully rendered are really cool looking. So I don't know, I get a little bit more enjoyment out of Warhol, but yeah, text only online games are kind of the bottom of the barrel for me.
Yeah, so all those opponents out there, I think you have to play with voice chat. It's just, it takes a lot longer and it's so much less interaction with your opponent.
Yeah.
It kills me. But if people only want to play text chat, that's cool with them. I know a lot of guys in Europe like playing just text chat, so.
I've actually never run across anybody who preferred it.
Oh, really?
I've always got voice calls. There was once or twice where one or the other of us had to request it for a brief, like because of a kid taking a nap or disrupting somebody. But like all my games pretty much have been voice.
Yeah, I think I've run into 2 or 3 games like that where they requested to play text chat, but I've just been unlucky.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the bat rep, and we have Vespasian's round 1 in League 1A, the creamy crop of the top of the crop. What do you want to say? And you get paired into the one, the only Furion.
Yeah, I was really excited to have the opportunity to play in the top league. The caliber of the players is, I think we joked, it's like half the Polish ETC team, basically. So here I come up against Furion, who a mirror match, which is probably not the most exciting type of match, but I was looking forward to the game. I've never played him before, so yeah, it should be a good one. We got frontline clash and hold the ground, it looks like.
Let's see here. Let's go over your list.
Yeah, so I was remembering the mechanic that we have for the league, where you're incentivized to use lists more than once. And since this was my first game, I wanted to go for what I thought was an all-comers pretty flexible list that I'd be able to use definitely more than once. So you can kind of, for those who watched the previous league elimination games, you can see kind of an evolution of that. Still got the double Griffin commanders. I shifted to Massacranic Tower with Elu's Heartwood, double ether icon or single ether icon. A Cosmo Master with Obsidian Rock, because I thought that it's a super flexible mage, all comers. And then I tried out a little bit of a different core. Spoiler alert, I don't love it, but wanted to have kind of a mix of Seaguard and Citizen Spears. Reavers for chaff. I got a big unit big-ish unit of Knights of Rima for zoning and hittiness. 15 Queensguard with Becalming for the big ranged output. 5 Grey Watchers and 3 Reapers. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good list. I actually like it. The core is the part that I think doesn't work very well. But anyways,
I don't like. It's just not enough bodies, or not enough what?
It's just like, those are kind of like my main battle line units, and neither one of them is big enough to be called that. So it's they sort of like try but fail to do the job that they're supposed to do. So I think kind of consolidate into one big unit, like a big Seaguard unit, or go for 2 big cheaper units, like 2 big units of Citizen Spears or something. But this is just like they're too small to do what they're supposed to do, I think.
All right, let's look at Furian's list.
Yeah. So I know that he was testing out something a little different. This is very much his list, but with that with some tweaks since the update nerfed a number of the things that were in his list.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got the big Nova Griff Prince, typical, the Pyro Adept with Mastery. Where he switches things up is he doesn't have the Sliver Lord, the Spear Prince. So he went with kind of a cheaper version of that to take a Queen's Companion General, and then a Master of the Kranich Tower BSB with Heartwood. So he's got heavy shooting from those two guys, MR4. I missed that one looking over his list because he doesn't usually run MR4. So I kind of made a bad assumption. Then he's got the big Seaguard brick, typical, Reavers for chaff, Lancers for fast scoring, 2 Frost Phoenixes, so he's got the triple flyers, 3 Reapers, and a unit of Lion Guard. So kind of a, I think he was still testing things out after the nerfs that came through in the balance patch, and he's got a interesting list, and we'll see how it goes for him.
Yeah, they both kind of seem balanced lists. They both have a good amount of shooting. I think he outdoes you a little bit in a close combat, or does he? I don't know. You got the Rymanites. You got the Rymanites and the 2 Griffs. I don't know. I think you outdo him in combat. Yeah. He outdoes you in the shooting. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the big Seaguard brick with a Pyro Adept is a strong shooting output for sure. So yeah. Okay, so he won first turn, and this is hold the ground. So with that Seaguard brick and him winning, he won to drop first. There's no way I can compete for that center objective, right? Because I don't have any unit that can fight the Seaguard one-on-one. So he'll with first turn, he just moves up and takes the objective for the rest of the game, basically. So you can see my counter deployment. And you can see a little bit with some of the rulers. My main goal was to ensure that he had no arc of sight or range with the bolt throwers into the Queen's Guard. That my bolt throwers were, presenting good arcs around that hill. I put 1 bolt thrower over there on the bottom left with the impassable, mainly because I wanted a distraction. I wanted something to pull him away from, something away from my main battle line to give me more time. And the Griffins are out of bolt thrower range, and then Rymanites are defending the flank, basically. So yeah.
So this is
Seaguard
Spears.
Seaguard with Master Mage, that the red up in the front right there. Big spears kind of screening off the Queen's Guard. Grey Watchers behind the Seaguard, the little green guys. Big Queen's Guard there in behind the spears. The green Griffin is the 4-up ward. The blue Griffin is the 5-up ward, and then the 2 bolt throwers there towed into the forest, and the Rymanites defending the flank. And the Reavers I put way in the back right there because I didn't want them shot off the board, but that ended up being kind of a mistake. Spoiler alert. We'll see what happens.
So he's got the 3 bolt throwers. This
is after his turn 1 move, you can see. So he's got the 3 bolt throwers there. He brings the Frost Phoenix down, and doesn't take any DTs in the ruins. He's got the Lancers there in front of the bolt throwers. Here? Yeah, right there.
Those are the Lancers. These are the Reavers.
Yeah, those are the Reavers. He's got the Queen's Companion and the Master of the Kranich Tower in the Seaguard there, which take the wall. And he's got the Griffin, which comes down there, is not on the hill. And then he's got the Pyro Adept there in the Lions.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is turn 1 move.
Yeah.
That's the rest of turn 1 move.
Yeah, I guess I must have caught him kind of partway through the movement. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is the rest. He takes no DTs with the Frost Phoenix on the left. The Frost Phoenix on the right is not on the hill. So you can see he's trying to figure out how to put pressure on my castle, as it were. And he does have the lions towed up on the hill to try to, I think, keep my griffins honest, right?
Yeah, that makes
otherwise
sense.
I could have brought them out. So yeah, good movement from him.
Let's see here. Magic and shooting. It looks like he takes care of one of your bolt throwers.
Yeah, he takes care of one of my bolt throwers, and unluckily, despite being within BSB range, I fail the 9 rerollable panic on one of the griffins.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. And then he also does some damage to my Sea Guard. You can see there, just a little bit, and that's about it that happened from his turn. So, not bad. I mean, I deployed to make it difficult for him to do damage in turn 1. And then it wouldn't be a Vespacian battle report without the dice thing right in the middle of the field. So, you can see I don't move a lot. I think is this after my movement.
Looks like you just back up here and here.
Yeah. I with the griffin panicking, it kind of reduced my ability to be aggressive on the right. And with the Reavers way back there, I didn't have a way to chaff the lions, right? So I think looking back on this, I really wish I'd had the Reavers up. I could have moved up, chaffed the lions, and brought, with the way that he put the Phoenix and the Griffin, I could have brought basically all of my hitters up behind that hill. I think that would have been, actually, I think that would have been a pretty compelling move to put pressure on him and keep it off of me, but I didn't do that. So this was just kind of a pull back, redress the lines. Fortunately, the Griffin rallied, so there's that.
That is nice.
Cold-blooded, rerollable 9, so. So now you can see his movement.
This is top of 2 movement.
Yeah. So.
Oh no, this is end of his turn. End of his turn. So he already did some damage to you.
Yeah. Okay. So let me get back to my magic phase. So got the hereditary up, and I think I did something like an ice and fire or something on maybe one of the phoenixes. Didn't do much. My shooting, I got a little unlucky with the shooting. I basically unloaded everything I had at that Phoenix on the left, and it took 2 wounds, and then it charged out of the ruins in his turn and took only 1. So that's 2 rounds of DTs, took only 1 wound. So he got a little lucky there. And then beyond that, he moves up to get aggressive in the center with his 2 flyers, and moves the lions up onto the hill to continue threatening. So yeah.
Okay.
So this is after his turn. I guess this is when we paused it. So he does a little more damage to the spears and the Sea Guard, basically. Yeah. The hereditary helped a lot here, deflecting the damage. So yeah.
So now this is after his. This is your turn. This is bottom of 2.
Yeah, exactly. So my thinking here was I thought about this a lot because we actually paused the game at this point, and I had a little time to think about it. So I felt good about that spear charge into the Nova Griff because I felt like I could tie him up, and he had no counter charges. He wouldn't bring the Lancers in, obviously, because I'd mow him. And then if he brought the Frost Phoenix in, I'm fine with that because that prevents that thing from causing me a bunch of trouble, right? So
yeah.
So basically, it was a stalling tactic. This goes back to like these core units just don't do what I need them to do. It was kind of a stalling tactic. And then continue to be scared of his bolt throwers. The Griffins are kind of constrained by them in the bottom. And once again, I've still got my Reavers caught in the back there doing F all, which is a shame. But I do bring the Rymanites up a bit, as you can see. So and then I pull the Queensguard bunker back with both characters. So yeah, that's where we ended up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay. So yeah. So the shooting and DT's luck rebalances, and I vaporize that Phoenix.
Oh,
which, I ran the numbers on it. I mean, 2 Bolt Throwers, Sea Guard, Queen's Guard, Bow of Elu, I've got a lot of punishment for that thing. And I think on average, I kill it. So glad to have the averages work out. I sacrifice my champion just to hold up that the Nova Griff, and he sticks there. And I bring the spears out to the left to increase the distance from the Sea Guard brick and present more spears if he brings the Lancers in. So, and then you can see I got Hereditary and Thrown Up. And so actually I was feeling pretty good at the end of this round, this turn. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's swinging back to you now, but he's got some charges this turn.
Yeah.
So he takes the Lancers into the Bolt Thrower, and he moves this guy up. He doesn't take any charges over here.
He doesn't, yeah. So he kind of, I think with the Ryma's threatening, he sort of redresses and pulls away. And at this point, he knows that I'm not competing for the center, obviously, right? So he can afford to move a little differently. And uses the Frost Phoenix to put pressure on my back line, and that is about it.
Okay.
I can see here. Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, he puts a lot of damage into the Queen's Guard this turn, which was basically all from the Sea Guard, and I think maybe the Pyro. No, not the Pyro Mage. Mainly the Sea Guard. And this one was, I have a recollection that was one that I was kind of like, I think he overperformed a bit, and the Hereditary, even with the Hereditary, I wasn't able to keep up with it. So starting to diminish them. But the main thing that was important was that the spears held on a rerollable 8, right? And that was the main thing I was concerned about. So so there you go.
And you moved your grip here. Are you out of their arc?
Yeah. So the Griffin is out of the Lion's arc, and the Ryma Knights are towed up onto the hill. You can see he also did a couple. I think that was a fireball. Did a couple wounds to the Reaper over on the right. Yeah. So I actually really liked how things are developing over on the right, and I felt like if I could repeat my success against a now only 3 wounds remaining Phoenix, that I'd actually be in pretty good shape. So we'll see if I can vaporize that boy. Yeah, I liked the positioning over on the right. I felt like I knew he had the shaft available. Yeah, but I liked that positioning. So yeah.
Ooh, so lots of stuff.
Okay, so a few things happen here. So one, I did take down the Phoenix, and
nice.
he failed a leadership panic test on the Lancers, and they fled off the board.
Oh no!
So that was a nice piece of luck there.
Yeah.
So I felt good about that. He pulls an interesting move here, where he has a champ in those Reavers, and so he charges the Griffin. So if you go back just one, but to see the original positioning, yeah. So I think that it was I think that he had a flank, if I recall correctly. So he was thinking charge, flank, maybe I don't do too many wounds, and they stick on a rerollable, 8, and pin the Griffin in place, right? So what you see in the next picture is before the Griffin closes the door to them, I think, is what's going on there. So the other thing I did was I reformed the spears wide, and my main rationale there was I just didn't want those Sea Guard just like marching forward 10 inches and being right in the middle of my army. So I was kind of trying to prevent that from happening. He didn't do it. So he just moved up maximum. So yeah, now on to his turn.
Oh, that's all we got.
Bummer. Okay, so things got a bit exciting after this, so I ran out of pictures, and I do deeply apologize because the rest of this is interesting. So let me recap some key things here. So first of all, I make just an absolute noob mistake here, where I basically I was really excited about the positioning of the spears and the griff because I saw the Sea Guard had a flank on the griffin, and my thinking there was if I go in, I've got flank, charge, banner, big flank,
Oh yeah,
right,
I see
ranks.
that. Yeah, okay.
And my hope, and because going into the flank, I challenge he can't use the Nova Flare, right? Because it's in the flank. So my thinking was if he fluffs even a little bit, I could have that guy on a pretty bad check, and that would be game breaking there. So I got really excited about that move, and I burned my hereditary tokens in the shooting phase on the Sea Guard because I wanted to keep their ranks. And then of course he goes completely lights out, wipes out the Queen's Guard.
Oh no.
So that was, looking back, I should have just saved the tokens for the Queen's Guard and kept them alive, because as I'll tell you, it would have made a big difference. Because in the following turn, I put the characters into the Grey Watchers, but unfortunately he has another great turn and manages to wipe the Grey Watchers and the characters in one round. So,
oh no.
So I do end up losing the Queen's Guard, both characters in turn 5, which is a real shame. So then let me go back to what's going on up top, because here the Griffin gets challenged out by that Reaver champion, right? But he does not fluff. And so those Reavers are on like a 6 rerollable, and they fail it.
Okay.
So they flee. So now you can see I've got the Griffin and the Rymanites with a charge on that Lion Guard unit, right? So this I at that moment I'm like, I'm gonna beat Furion because I've got with the Rymas, I've got 13 attacks, right, on 3s by 2s. With the Griffin, I've got 3 attacks 2s by 2s and 5 attacks 3s by 2s, and I've got 6 horse kicks, right? And with all of that, all I need to do is kill 10 lions.
Okay.
Right, because then I break his steadfast, right? And I've got an overrun with the Griffin into the flank of the Sea Guard block.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
One in right there.
So he's got no counters, right? Which means I can pin him there, start killing characters, right? Rymas can reform, come into the flank rear, something like that. That could be, that's a huge swing, right? So what happens? The Rymas and the Griff go in. The Rymas out of 13 attacks hit with like 4 on 3s, right? So I come up short. I miss breaking steadfast by I think 1 or 2, and then so the Griffin and the Rymanites proceed to get hung up on that Lion Guard unit, and you see he's got no hereditary up, right? So there wasn't even anything defensive going on. So this was a real underperformance. And so anyways, at that point, if I go through that unit, Griffin goes into the flank, I think it becomes a different game. As it happens, they get stuck there. Eventually the Nova Griff grinds out the Sea Guard and the spears just over the next like 3 or 4 combat rounds. He gets a turn 6 charge into the flank of that Griffin, and kills him. And the Lions wipe out the Rymanites. And so at
depressing.
That point,
it was such a bright spot for a minute there.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the end of the day, he got objective. I did end up hanging on to, I think I held on to 1 spear and 1 Sea Guard just by happenstance. So I held on to a few points there, and I actually took a pretty decent amount of points off of him with I got both of his Phoenixes, the Reavers, the Lancers, and I think I might have even gotten half points for the Lions. So it ended up being a 19-1. Yeah.
That hurts, man. You were so close.
I know.
And these games against really good players, and you included, you and Furion, like they come down to such razor thin margins.
Yeah. To be fair, I had a couple rounds go my way against those Phoenixes, which could have been a real mess for me if I'd left them alive on one wound, right? So I can't complain too much about dice swings, but that in that one crucial moment, it could have been really big. So yeah, really good game. Furion is a very detailed, very good player. I learned a lot in the game, and I felt like we talked a little bit about it afterwards, and he was the one that kind of talked me through that thing with the Reavers, right? If I'd had those Reavers, if you go back to kind of turn one, if you don't mind, yeah, there you go. So if those Reavers are up, kind of in the forest or by the Rimas or something like that, so then that completely changes what I can do in my turn one movement, right? Because where he's there, I could bring the Reavers up, chaff the Lions, and bring both Griffins up out of line of sight of the bolt throwers, right? And the Rimas, all out of line of sight of the bolt throwers, and both Griffins out of line of sight of the Frost Phoenix, right? And that's a really, really powerful position, because then if he does nothing, then I can jump the two Griffins over to threaten the Sea Guard brick and just take one turn of shooting from the bolt throwers, which changes the game, the sort of the pressure that he's putting on me and the flow of the game entirely. It opens up the possibility of competing for the center. So he was like, I think your biggest strategic mistake was putting the Reavers down to the bottom right, which is a funny thing, because think of all the pieces in the army, and that's the one thing he picked out. So it was a good kind of post game recap after action.
This game always come down to chaff.
It does, but yeah, no, well played. I liked his approach. I think it was a tight game, and we've said that at some point we'd like to do a rematch. So I'll look forward to that. Thanks, Furion, for a great game.
Well, I think you had not as good of a start as I did in the league, but that was an intense game. I thought it was a really cool game.
Yeah. Thanks. What do you think? Any comments on it, or?
No, you're exactly right. I think he's right about the chaff. You played the bolt throwers, his bolt throwers, really well, which I would not have done. It took a lot of restraint for you to keep your Griffins back as you did. But I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of Highborn. I have a hard time getting strategy over Highborn Elves, but that was a really good game.
I can understand. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Yeah. And the next one is another great game against a great opponent. So yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys like the video, please like and subscribe, and everyone have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.